Welcome to the Startup Funding Espresso. I'm Hall T. Martin, where we talk about how to raise funding and invest in startups and the time it takes to drink an espresso. If you have a question about startup funding or investing, please go to the website, startupfundingespresso.com, and type in your question into the chat bot in the lower right corner to receive an answer. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, this is Hall T. Martin with the Startup Funding Espresso, your daily shot of startup funding and investing. Web3 brings a new level of decentralization to the internet. Web3 lets users build their own economic models using open source code and tokens to provide incentives. Web3 consists of several components to create the technical underpinnings that provide decentralization. This includes digital assets such as tokens that represent value, the blockchain which stores all the transactions for transparency purposes, and smart contracts for executing the transactions. Web3 brings a new level of governance to the entity. Control of the entity is shared among all and executed through voting mechanisms. Web3 decentralization separates the data from the core system so it's portable and can be moved by the user to other platforms. The Web3 technical structure enables the transition from a Web2 platform to a Web3 platform. Traditional fintech companies can enable decentralization in the following ways: move governance to a decentralized community that votes, embed execution of the transactions into smart contracts, separate data from the code base, create digital assets to provide incentives for those working on the system, and consider moving your Web2 application to Web3. Thank you for joining us for the Startup Funding Espresso, where we help startups and investors connect for funding. Let's go start listening to today. Hall T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.